there were too many things that they left in the house to create a hoax. Normally, when you create a hoax, you would do it for a purpose, monetary gain, some kind of gain. What kind of gain could they possibly get out of leaving the house, walking away from it? They didn't have a book contract when they left the house. Even if they had had a book contract, there was no guarantee that the book would possibly be a bestseller. They did not have a movie contract, and if they did have a movie contract, there was no guarantee that the movie would come out and be successful.
The house and town have survived the Amityville horror, but the townspeople are as split as ever about what really happened.
Yeah, I believe so. I think so, because I know a lot of people who have gone into the house after this had happened, and they get scared and they ran out and stuff like that. But there really hasn't been anybody interested in buying the house or anything else like that. Yeah, they do believe it's haunted.
I didn't go see any of the movies because I didn't want to waste my money to go see them. I know the story is not true. Okay, I have heard that people who have read the book and seen the movies, that someone was supposedly possessed, the house was haunted, and mysterious things were going on, and none of it is true. It's just not true.
The Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal would not have really been interested in the Amityville horror had they not purported it to be something that was based on fact. Well, the second that it was purported to be a true story, we sent out a team to investigate it. And what they found was that many of the claims based in the book and in the movie were not true. And the priest, for instance, had not gone to the house at great length, and they just talked to him on the phone and things like this.
There was a real priest who had gone to the house, who had had difficulties in the house, had gotten sick, had had trouble with his automobile on the way after leaving the house.
It was just what it is in the media. If they say it's true, then it makes it much more interesting, and it makes more people see the movie, and it makes it more interesting than if it was just fiction.
In this house, it is dangerous for those who ridicule. The spirits are strongly displeased with the skeptical.
I can understand exactly how they feel.
As far as experiences of my own are concerned, I have gone at the beginning of my career to investigate maybe 50 or 60 houses that were presumed to be haunted. I never saw anything of any interest. After I left, people would tell me all hell broke loose, and eventually I got bored with that because I wanted hell to break loose while somebody was there to photograph it. So what I did was to get 2 graduate students who were awfully good at their work, and when they went, things did happen.
During the past 12 years, I've investigated 650 cases. And during that time, only a few of them have produced anything worthwhile, less than 1%. Now, that doesn't mean that the other cases aren't legitimate. It's very difficult for a researcher to be in the right place at the right time.
Stunts and illusions. Humbug and deception. Flim-flam. And hocus-pocus.
I think that you'll find that there's a fraction of 1% that are really legitimate cases. Most of the cases that come in are really psychologically based and due to certain types of emotions or things happening within a family or with a particular person. And though they may believe that supernatural things are happening, when in fact we find that there's very little basis for it.
We have our business and you have your business.
Please, do not refer to my calling as a business.
Oh, no offense. I just meant that everybody has to stick to his own racket.
Racket? Do you dare to suggest that the practice of the occult sciences is a racket?
Do not merely suggest it, Mr. Kaiser. Insist upon it.
What is a skeptic? Well, a skeptic isn't a person who denies the existence of something. All a skeptic asks for is proof of something. You say you can burst into flames? Well, come before us and burst into flames. But you have to do it by some other means than dousing yourself with turpentine and setting a match to yourself. It takes less than a minute to make any sort of crazy claim. I can say, for instance, I've gone to Venus and walked around. It's not up to the skeptic to prove the person wrong. It's up to the person who makes the claim to substantiate it or give evidence. And until they prove it with proper evidence, and that needs careful investigation, I will remain skeptical.
It's easy to become a skeptic, especially after watching hundreds of ghosts, poltergeists, and evil possessions Hollywood has given us. It's a natural question to ask how seriously we should take the supernatural. Nearly 60 years ago, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, used his own knowledge of deductive reasoning to support his beliefs in the supernatural.
Well, there are two things that people always want to ask me. Well, one of them is how I ever came to write the Sherlock Holmes stories. And the other is about how I came to have psychic experiences and to take so much interest in that question. When I talk on this subject, I'm not talking about what I believe. I'm not talking about what I think. I'm talking about what I know. There's an enormous difference, believe me, between believing a thing and knowing a thing. I'm talking about things that I've handled, that I've seen, that I've heard with my own ears. And always, mind you, in the presence of witnesses. I never risk hallucination.
More recently, actress Susan Strasberg had a very personal supernatural experience. One day, a close friend told her that she had received a message from the actress' late father, famed acting coach Lee Strasberg. The message had told them to go find a personal note written by Strasberg himself.
So the day came when I had been told to do this thing, and with much trepidation, thinking, oh, I'm crazy, and why am I going to do this? I'll be disappointed, and it can't be, and maybe she was making it up and, not meaning to. And so I got a writer friend of mine and a doctor, because I thought I wanted to have two witnesses, so they couldn't say that I had made it up, and followed the sort of game plan that my father had told us. And down the line, from A to Z, everything happened as he had said that it would. The message was in a place where he had said it would be, in the container that he had said it would be in. And it was a message that dealt with the immortality of the human soul, which was not something that my father, I think, would ever have said while he was still alive.
Eyewitnesses in Hollywood are still experiencing strange encounters, many at their very own studios. The stories may be unusual, but the eyewitnesses speak for themselves.
It was a Sunday night about 10 o'clock in the evening, pretty cold, and Stage 5 called down and asked me to come up and lock up the stage. I went down to the stage, turned off the lights on the lower part of the stage, locked up the door, and turned around and came back toward the door. Just before I left, I wanted to make sure that nobody was in the stage and locked up. So I yelled out, "Is there anybody in here?" And didn't hear anything, turned around to lock up the stage again, and turned around and heard a voice way up in the catwalks. I looked up in the catwalks, and we have a house light that is mounted about 4 feet, 5 feet from the catwalk. It started swinging about 6, 8 feet in an arch about half a dozen times. I turned around, I looked at the PA guy, and I said, "You did hear that?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "You did hear a voice?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked up there, and he said, "Is anybody up there?" There was no answer, so I backed up, got a very nervous feeling about it, closed the stage, and walked away.
We walked over to the end of the stage where the staircase was. We sat down and proceeded having lunch. Within a few minutes or so, there were footsteps in front of us, and it seemed like they were at the other end of the stage. There was nothing in the way of me seeing anyone coming in or going out of the stage. I thought it was kind of funny, and I looked up on the catwalks, and I thought, well, it would be impossible for anyone to be here because the stage was dark when I came in. We decided to keep on having lunch, and a few seconds later, the footsteps were directly in front of us, and they were walking towards us, and there was no one there.
I got a call one night from one of my guards who was standing watch on a small stage in Hollywood.